Fellows, what is going on? And welcome back to the channel. Today we have a three-game NBA slate here on DraftKings for the playoffs for Wednesday nights. Going to be talking through my favorite early look core plays as well as doing a game-by-game breakdown, going over all the minutes for the starters, who to look to off the bench for value, and some dart throws, all that good stuff in this video. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Check out my PrizePicks video, which will be coming out after this, and let's get into this breakdown. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at HeartDFS, as well as check out my Patreon package link down below. But yeah, this is my lineup from last night. Missed cash by 0.25. 0.25 I missed cash. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. 0.25. You know, classic. Classic. So I went with Garland here, 22% owned. He went for almost a 50 bomb. He was fantastic. Powell, 12% owned, 26. Hunter, 13%, 38. Kevin Durant, 47%, 43. Robert Williams, 22%, 19. Malcolm Brogdon, 10%, 37. Tatum, 25, 56. And then Terrence Mann, 13, 12. One thing I'll say is Terrence Mann, I did not feel great about that. That seemed forced. There was a slight change I could have made. I should have, paid down from Powell to Karis LeVert. I love Karis LeVert. I thought he was in my lineup until I checked at the end of the night where I was just like, wait, I actually don't have Karis LeVert. So it was one of those things where I really liked him as a play there for the Cleveland side alongside Darius Garland. I actually had him in my lineup for a while. I switched him at the last second to pay up for Brogdon and have Norman Powell in there because I liked him a little bit better, but I really like Harris LeVert. And he worked out in a big way. He got 34, 35. So he was super solid. It would have allowed me to pay up at either, center or at the utility spot and would have really helped out my lineup. But yeah, Garland was fine. I expected a huge bounce back spot there for him. That worked out. Powell, I mean, really, 28 minutes, 4 of 11. Once again, he could not shoot the ball. He started off the game with 3 fouls and 0 of 4 shooting in the first 7 minutes of his game time. Lost some minutes there. The most frustrating thing in the world is Derek White. 75% own Derek White going for 45 fantasy points. That is the worst play I've seen this season so far. Now, overall, Derek White was a good play. He's a fine play. He was a cheap play. He was playing big minutes. He has a decent ceiling. But when you factor in his ownership, he became a terrible play. Why? Because you have Marcus Smart for $700, $700 more at 5,900, who pretty much has the same ceiling, a little bit lower of a floor, maybe the same floor. Or you have Malcolm Brogdon off the bench, coming off a bad game. Knew he's a great bounce back spot for him. He's $100 cheaper. He was 65% less owned. 65%. And he went off for 37. Of course, Derek White goes for a career shooting night, 11 of 16, goes for 45 at 89% ownership. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. There's no reason he should be that high owned. No reason. If you factor in ownership, he's a terrible play. Like a good play overall, but then when you put in the ownership, Derek White was a terrible play, and he bailed out the Donkeys in a way I've never seen before last night. It was the dumbest thing ever. Literally the reason I did not cash. It's just frustrating stuff there. 0.25, I miss away from cash. If I had Derek White, it would have been a whole different thing. As you can see, Derek White obviously in the winning lineup. I had DeAndre Hunter. Low ownership did not matter. It's just frustrating stuff there. And can we talk about KD? He played pretty much the whole game. He played 44 minutes. A regular game is 48 minutes in regulation. 44. And he goes for 43 fantasy points. He's like a 1.23, 1.25 fantasy point per minute guy. He should be going for 55, 60 plus. And he goes for 43. It's just so dumb. So yeah, guys, you can tell I'm just super, super frustrated. The NBA DFS has just been so dumb recently. Just I still can't believe the Derek White thing. I still can't believe it. But looking into today's games, we have another 100K2 first. I'm going to be breaking it down for you guys today. For the Lakers side here, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. I think they are the two most expensive on the slate. So let me just double check that. We still have Giannis. We still have Jokic. So we do have a good amount of, spend up options. Jokic is 10-9, which for the regular season, that'd be extremely cheap. Obviously, it's the playoffs. There's not a lot of value. So that might be a little bit hard to get. So it really comes down to ownership for kind of these top two guys. You have Jokic and Giannis. I'm sure people will play them. They'll be at least 15% owned, but maybe they'll be less than 25%. In that 15 to 25% range. If that happens, really, really like trying to spend up for at least one of them in that spot there. So Yeah, moving back to the Lakers side here, LeBron, AD, pretty much going to be the whole team for them. I like both a lot. It really just comes down to who you kind of prefer. I think I slightly prefer LeBron. He just seems a little bit more consistent in the playoffs. But I mean, AD's been fantastic. Hard to trust 7 blocks there. That really helped out his fantasy score. But otherwise, he's getting at least he's been averaging like over 2.5 per game, closer to 3. He's been getting a ton of steals recently. So slightly an outlier, I guess. But yeah, he is averaging 2 blocks per game on the season. So he looks really good. LeBron looks really good. Um, as I mentioned, D'Lo, I think he looks like a very solid mid-range play. Now, his price really came down, 6,800 last game. Now he's $1,000 cheaper. He played 36 minutes. He's going to shoot it when he's out there. Sometimes he's just not the best shooter, but he's going to get the assists. He's going to get some rebounds. He can get some steals. So I do really like D'Lo in that mid-range. If you want a piece from this Lakers game, that's not going to be you and LeBron or AD. Reeves, I think you can kind of say the same thing. Obviously, a little bit of an outlier there, closing the game. Pretty much it was all just Reeves there. I think he scored like 12 points in that last quarter, maybe. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, I mean another one of those plays where he only played 31 minutes, which you don't love to see. You hope for a little bit more, but I think he's a fine play there, 5,600. We know he is decent upside, but yeah, I think he's a decent play. And then Rui had like a career game there, 11 to 14, 29 points, 40 fancy points. If you wanted to take a shot at him, I don't mind it. Now, it's not chasing just because like he has been getting decent minutes. He got 27 in that Minnesota game, 30 in the last game. So it looks like he's going to be getting at least 20 plus minutes. Now, he can go out there and play terrible, get in foul trouble, just go 0 4 in his first, few minutes, and that will probably affect him. So I say you can probably count on 20 minutes from Rui. I don't know if we can expect more unless he's playing super well. So for that reason, he's just more of an okay play. Schroeder, 4,100. He's kind of limited to around like 15 to 20 minutes with everyone healthy. So I guess you can look to him, but I don't love it either. Vanderbilt, it's just a minute thing, right? 22, 23. He wasn't really in foul trouble. He's just not been productive. More out there for his defense. So it's like you could take a dart throw on him. He could have like a productive game, go for like, you know, 8 points, 8 rebounds, some steals and blocks. I could see it happening, but right now it's just hard to trust him with those minutes. Malik Beasley, minutes are down. So yeah, that's really it. Do like the top 3 guys a good amount. Reeves looks okay, or he looks decent. Hachimura, okay. I guess you can land on Shorter and Vanderbilt for cheap value, but that's really it for the Lakers side. Moving on to the Memphis side here. John Morant questionable. So if he's good to go, I think he'll be a solid contrarian option just because a lot of people are really scared about that hand injury. And I would assume most people are not going to want to play him just because I think it's a shooting hand. So there might be some issues there with him shooting. So if you want to get super risky, you could definitely take that shot if he does play because I would assume he'd be pretty low owned compared to the other stars on the slate around him at the same price tag. Jaren Jackson Jr., 9,300. I'd really like him if there is no Ja. His usage goes up a ton. He came off a 49-point game there versus Lakers, 13-21 shooting. He's been shooting the ball extremely well the past 3 games, so maybe we can expect a little bit of a downswing here, a little bit of a letdown game in terms of shooting. But I still think he's a decent play. I still just don't love the price tag of him at 9,300. It just feels way too high for me personally. We know he is foul prone at times. Haven't seen it in a while. Maybe that's one of the games tonight where he does get in foul trouble. Desmond Main, 8,400. Obviously, he gets a little bit of a bump there if there's no John Morant. If there is still John Morant, I think he's way too expensive. So I do like Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Main, but only if there's no John Morant. If there's John, I guess they're just more of contrarian options, which I don't know why you'd get to. Tyus Jones would look decent if there's no Ja, 6,700. So it's not like we're getting him at a huge discount. Kind of priced about right. But yeah, he'd probably be in line to play huge minutes. The Memphis Grizzlies really haven't been playing a ton of people off the bench, so he'd be in line for probably 35 plus minutes. So he'd look pretty solid there. Dylan Brooks would get a little bit more of a usage bump, but still, I don't love him at 6,100. He's priced about right. Kennard would probably be he'd probably be a very popular play, kind of like a Derek White, where he's already seen mid 20s minutes with Ja. He'll probably see 30 plus without Ja. So I think Tyus Jones and Luke Kennard are the best 2 plays if there's no Ja. Xavier Tillman, I think it's a fine value. Only played 22 minutes, but I think they'll need him against Anthony Davis for his defense and just being a bigger body. Santi, I guess a dart throw worthy mention, and that's really it. So yeah, it really just comes down to if Ja plays or not. And I kind of just went over who we'd like to target if there is no Ja. So we'll have to keep that in mind and see what happens with him. On the Miami side, um, just more contrarian options. Now, we'll have to wait and see what they do with the starting lineup. Obviously, there is no Tyler Hero. He broke his hand. He's out for the next month. So we'll see if the Heat even make it past that. But with no Hero, it's just more of a usage bump for guys like Butler and Adebayo. I think we can expect Strus to move back in the starting lineup. So it'll be these three: Butler, Adebayo, Strus, and I assume Vincent. And I think they might go to Martin. So I think the best option is to go down to the cheaper guys. I think that's going to be the more popular play. Is people, I think Butler and Bam are fine plays. Like I think they'll probably be lower owned compared to the other stars on the slate. But Jimmy's playing huge minutes. Bam's minutes are okay. He finally had a decent game there, shooting the ball. But I think Butler would be my favorite spin up play on this team. And then from there, I think Strus is fine. He should be playing huge minutes. It really just comes down to can he hit a shot. The first game he did against Chicago, and then that first game against Milwaukee, he just did not. So I think we expect at least 10 shots from Strus. So at 5,500, I don't mind him. Lowry off the bench only played 18, but I think we expect at least 25 plus now with no Tyler Hero. So I think he looks like a decent play. Caleb Martin, I think he's still a decent play there in the mid range. Not like he's going to gain much usage with no Tyler Hero, but it's just more of a minutes thing. Maybe he gets the start. So yeah, I think he's fine. Gabe Vincent probably going to be a very popular value play. We know even if he does get the minutes, he still can have some bad games. So I think he's a fine value play. As you can see, 37 minutes, only 18 and a half fantasy points. So I think it's a decent value play, 4,200, not much value on the slate. So going to be super popular, going to be hard not to play him, but I think he looks decent. Kevin Love, I think is a fine play. Minutes went up in that first game there, 23. He actually played very well. So he's always worth a dart throw there at 4,100. And I do think we see some Victor Oladipo. It's hard to trust. He hasn't played in a few games. So there is that DMP risk, but I think with no Tyler Hero, they're going to need some scoring off the bench. And so I think they will look to Victor Oladipo. But he's obviously a very super risky play. And maybe we see some minutes for, Duncan, but I don't trust it. So yeah, I think I have a good amount of interest for those cheaper guys as of right now. Moving on to the Milwaukee side, Giannis right now, I think he's doubtful. Yeah, so it looks like he's doubtful. So we're gonna have Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton lead the team. So all four guys, Holiday, Middleton, Lopez, and Portis look great here in this spot. Um, I like getting into at least two of them, whether that's Holiday and Portis, Middleton, Holiday, Middleton, and Portis, even Brooke Lopez and Holiday. It's like all four see a huge usage bump, but I expect the offense to go through Holiday and Middleton. So they're going to be the top two. I think Portis is slightly behind them, and then Lopez is right behind Portis in terms of like who I like. So that's really it. In terms of value, Grayson, he'll play about 30 minutes, maybe a few more minutes now. Ingles will probably see a couple more minutes. I guess he's a fine value, 3,700. There's no Wesley Matthews, so maybe they dust off a little bit more of Jay Crowder, Pat Connaughton, Javon Carter, but we'll have to see. I mean, they can easily just spread out the minutes there to these guys, so it's not like it's a huge loss that there's no Wesley Matthews. Um, I think Joe Ingles would probably be my favorite player to take a shot on under the 4,000 mark for this Milwaukee side. But yeah, I think Holiday, Middleton, we're gonna want to load up at least one or both. I think you can even three stack it. Just it's not the best game environment here versus Miami, kind of slow pace, but a ton of usage is now lost if there's no Giannis. So keep that in mind. If there's Giannis, I'd really just kind of like Giannis, maybe taking a shot on like Middleton or Holiday as like a contrarian play. Probably Middleton. But yeah, if there's no Giannis, really, really like really like Middleton, really like Holiday. I like getting the Portis there at 5,700. And you could definitely get to like a cheap guy like a Pat Connaughton, or excuse me, like a Joe Ingles there, 3,700. And then moving on to Minnesota and Denver here. Anthony Edwards, 7,800. His price is really plummeting. He's just hasn't been that solid. So I do really like him. I expect a bounce back spot for him here tonight. Same thing for Carl Towns, 5 of 15. Just couldn't do anything. I couldn't score, couldn't hit a shot. Only saw 30 minutes. Obviously, the game blew out. So I expect Minnesota to put up a better fight tonight. So I do really like Edwards and Towns. Gobert questionable, but he should be able to be good to go. But we'll have to wait and see. 6,900, just more of a contrarian option. The minutes haven't been great on him. If he's out, obviously Kyle Anderson becomes a very solid play. He'd probably see huge minutes. Mike Conley's minutes have gone down. I expect him to get more minutes here. I mean, they really need his scoring and his playmaking. So I do like Anderson and Conley a good amount, maybe a little bit more than Townsend, Edwards, but I think all four are very solid plays, just depending on how Gobert, if he is in or out. Torian Prince off the bench, 4,000. I guess he's an okay value play. Don't love it unless there's no Gobert and maybe he gets inserted back in the starting lineup. NAW has been starting, only played 24 minutes, but if he's going to start again, I think he's a great value there at 4,000. I'd almost rather play him than Vincent, but we'll have to wait and see. And then Noel, he played 22 minutes, so I just don't get it. I mean, he played more minutes because of the blowout, but he actually did get some minutes there with the normal starters. So now it looks like he's playing again when he got a random DMP the other day. I just don't get it with him. And then on the Denver side here, Jokic obviously looks great. He should be good to go. I know there's a little bit of a risk question mark, but I think he looks fantastic. Murray looks really good. And then the mid range, Porter Jr., Gordon, and Bruce Brown, I think they're all fine, contrarian options. I'm not going to personally land on them, but if you do, I think they're fine. And that's about it. Jeff Green, you can land on him as a value piece. He played 23 minutes, got a few extra just because of the blowout, but he just did not hit a shot. Usually he could get you like 15 to 20 fantasy points. So, yeah, I mean, that's really it for the breakdown. Um, as of right now, I still really, really like Jamal Murray there at his price tag. We know the ceiling with him. He went for a 50 bomb last game and did not even shoot it well. So, I think he still looks really, really good. I'm going to throw him in there. And yeah, I think this is going to be the core for now. Holiday, Murray, Middleton, Portis, and Holiday. It really just kind of depends on that Rudy Gobert news there. Hopefully, we get it before the first game. Otherwise, I might build my lineup around the fact that maybe he's out. And then we still have to wait for the Giannis news and then potentially the John Morant news. So yeah, make sure to stay updated with me on my Patreon link down below. I'll have updated news with that, updated core play, all that good stuff. Slate right up. All that is coming out today. So make sure to stay tuned. Hit that like button. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.